I'll ask this of Charlie. Read in the paper this morning, student-teacher ratio in Portland Public Schools is now, if not soon will be, 30-1. The dropout rate, I would think most people would say, is still unacceptably high. Question to you, do you feel Portland's public schools are in crisis, and would you vote for giving money as a commissioner, as a mayor, grants, money, some form of tax revenue to the schools to help them out, and how would you want to spend that?
This is a critical issue. We have held public education together in this city with duct tape and bake sales for 20 years. And I have talked to so many young parents on their doorstep in this campaign. I've knocked on 20,000 doors, and a lot of them have been young parents. And they're worried. They're not sure if they're going to send their kids to public schools or not. They're not sure if they're going to stay in the city or not. It has to be a good answer. Even if we have good private schools in Portland, that sending your child to a good public school in your neighborhood has to be possible. So yes, I've always been a champion of public schools. It's one of the reasons I'm running for this office, because I think we are in crisis. Once before, when I was on the city council, we faced the same issue, and we did make one-time emergency grants from the city to the school districts, all of them, in the city of Portland, to keep from having to cut 100 teachers, to cut 4 weeks out of the school year. Now we're faced with cutting 110 teachers in Portland Public Schools. So it was controversial. There were some people who said, oh, that's not the city's job to support the schools. But I say, on an emergency basis, nothing that we do in this city is more important. It doesn't matter whose department it is, than keeping great public schools. It's our children, it's our neighborhoods, it's our economy, it's our public safety. It runs through everything we do. So no doubt not everyone would agree with that again today, but I would support it.
Response from either one of you?
Go
ahead, Eileen.
Yeah, okay. I'll be very direct. Yes, I think we're in a crisis. I think we need to declare this is a crisis. We have a school funding crisis at this point in time. And as mayor, from a long-term perspective, I will be working with the state on a couple of things that are absolutely critical to freeing up funding for financing. One is, that I've been working on for 4 years, we have to reduce the cost of healthcare in this state, period. Every healthcare dollar, the healthcare pie is growing, the education dollars are shrinking. Healthcare is eating our education budget. We need to look at reducing mandatory prison minimums for minor infractions. We need to spend money upstream on education, not downstream on prisons. We need to re-look at Measure 5, 47, and 50. We have a funding problem here. Should the city look at some interim financing? If it came to it, we absolutely should. We should look at cobbling together interim financing. $27 million is a big gap to fill, however. It'd be hard to imagine that the city of Portland could do that alone. But we have to be a good leader. We'll sit down with the key players and say, can we cobble this together short term? And what is the real long-term strategy? So I'll be working using, again, my coalition building background, bringing the business community to the table, bringing the activists to the table, the parents and the educators, to build a sustainable school funding system. We need to have a 21st century school system here. We deserve that. My children graduated from Portland Public Schools, and I want your children to as well.
Okay. Thank you. Jefferson?
I don't disagree with much that I heard. Let me add a bit. It was my, I think, senior year at Grant High School when Measure 5 was passed. Over the last 21 years, almost nothing has been done to meaningfully transform the trajectory of educational expenditures in our state. And that is something that I want to spend my 60 seconds to talk to Radio Land about its importance. The mayor does not have formal authority over schools, but does have a moral responsibility. It is why I am proud to be the one candidate in this race to publicly campaign for the last set of statewide revenue measures to invest in public schools. It's why we have to protect the general fund and say no to some tax breaks, even when there's a lot of political pressure. But it's also why the people out in Radio Land need to make sure that we hold more than just politicians accountable, but even editorial boards, even Cape Ham Radio, even Bob Miller, that we need to be amplifying the conversation. In 1980, Oregon had, I think, 10 Fortune 500 companies, and I think Minnesota had the same number. I think Minnesota now has 18, and I'm pretty sure Oregon's got 2. And the biggest difference has not been Tax rates. They're a higher tax state than we are. They got what we got plus a sales tax. The most obvious difference is they have meaningfully invested in higher education and lower education and every education in between. Over the last 21 years, we haven't. And that is more important in this mayor's race. That is more important than who wins. We have to invest in the next generation of our schools.
Thank you, Jefferson.